Emergency time. We're doing emergency stuff. Up. We just lost one of the Bears right out of the way. Okay.
Run it back.
Run it back. Emergency podcast time. Welcome to the Pride of Detroit PODcast emergency session here. I was just talking with Jeremy. We started. We really should have our own emergency music. We need to make the intro theme again with air raid sirens and stuff. Just like, oh God, we got to be in here. Got to get in here. Got to do this. Got to talk about random Lions news that happens in the week. We have to podcast yet again. We're averaging like two podcasts a day.
We don't have to, Chris. We get
Yes,
to.
we do.
We get to.
No, we don't. No. The algorithm, Jeremy, demands that we podcast. We podcast about a new general manager for the Detroit Lions. That's right. They hired a guy. Drop the banners, drop the balloons. They hired a guy. That is what the sign says.
I'm so excited. I'm throwing on the glasses. Let's go.
Oh, no. Real quick, third man here. So I'm Chris Perfett, the adequate host, at Chris Perfett, Perfett. That's Jeremy Reisman, the fearless leader, at Detroit Online. Oh, yeah. Ryan Matthews, the rock god, at Ryan_POD, always with the underscore. Ryan, we hired a guy.
He's been hired.
Mm-hmm. I like
That's
it.
it. There,
right, guys,
there it is.
Joining the podcast.
Thanks for joining the podcast. Bye.
Hold on. Let me do what every single beat writer in Detroit did when Brad Holmes was announced. Quote tweet, there it is. Quote tweet, there it is. Quote tweet, there it is.
Well, that just happened.
Yeah.
Are we just Josh Whedon characters now?
Oh.
Yeah, no, that's the Beast Ball. Shout out to Beast Ball from Lions. That's the Beast Ball move. Oh.
Just retweet it. Don't quote tweet it for engagements and for your own.
All right. We get it. You don't know how to be a social media manager. Let's
go. He's off to an ornery start here. So if we haven't been BSing enough here, Brad Holmes is your new Lions general manager. He was hired today. The 14th of January. Mark it on the tape. Brad Holmes is out. The scouting director from, I want to make sure I get his title right. Is that right, Jeremy? Scouting director.
Director of college scouting.
Director of college scouting, excuse me. That's a distinct distinction. We're going to talk about that here. Director of college scouting, Brad Holmes, leaving the Los Angeles Rams, once the St. Louis Rams, and coming to Detroit to be its new general manager in the post-Boston Boys era. The Lions have still not hired a head coach at the time of his hiring, but I think we should expect to see that soon. But this podcast will concern Brad Holmes. So, Jeremy, Ryan, might as well just do first reactions, and then we'll break down the hire itself.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty happy. Ryan and I talked about Brad Holmes kind of a lot last night, given that he was considered the favorite after the first domino fell with the Broncos there. And so, yeah, I mean, I think he's a solid hire. He's definitely – I always prefer, I think, a GM hire to come from that college ranks, because obviously the best way to build a team is through the draft. And this guy stuck out basically everywhere he went in within that Rams organization. When he was just a scout, when he was a scout assistant, he was writing up reports, and that stuck out. When he was, at the combine giving people the draft boards, he stuck out as someone who was a solid presenter. Les Snead had a really interesting story about that today after breaking the news that Holmes was gone. And basically he's just, I mean, he rose up the ranks everywhere he's went. He's a well-respected guy. He's a guy that has a ton of experience, almost 20 years worth of scouting experience. Sure, there are some concerns, and we'll get over that when we dive a little deeper in here. But overall, I think you have to applaud how the Lions went about their business here in terms of how thorough their search was, and they found a guy that they really like and got him. So I have to imagine, they didn't lose out on a guy. That's one thing that I think we can safely say. There wasn't a guy that got away. And so I have to commend the experience, and while there's certain things that I am concerned about, overall I think I have to be pretty happy with the process so far.
Yeah, there were some rumors that the Lions were closing on Kevin Colbert, and maybe we can talk about that later, but I think this was probably, I think this is as good a hire as any. As you say, he was a director of college scouting. The Lions are going to be rebuilding through the draft, versus Bob Quinn, who was a pro scout with New England, which means that if you don't know the difference, pro scout means you are focused on guys who are already in the league or maybe in a different level of professional football, who are already, they've already out of college, they've gone through the draft, or they didn't get drafted. You're looking at guys who are on other teams, and so on and so forth. that gives you an edge on like free when you want to hire for like say free agency, but for going in the draft, that's where your college scouts. The college scouts are the ones going down to Mobile to watch the Senior Bowl. So, Ryan, instant reaction from you.
Yeah, I know Jeremy's expecting me to be negative, but if you're watching live, here is how I feel about this hire. I am a happy camper.
Happy camper.
Yeah, I'm cool with this hire. I'm not gonna grade it. I'm not gonna fall into that trap. I'm not gonna make any sweeping declarations about how Brad Holmes is gonna save the franchise or anything of that nature. But I'm encouraged with what I've read about him. The podcast that Jeremy and I did last week with Vinny.
A couple weeks ago.
Bonsignora, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And I think from all angles, I think that I can't say that this is necessarily a home run, and I don't know if they necessarily got quote unquote their guy just because George Payton got hired by Denver before the Lions got Brad Holmes. Whether or not he was their guy ever, I don't know. I don't know if we'll ever know, but I think the Lions did get at least one of their guys, and Brad Holmes was clearly the front runner. And now it's weird because I want to talk about the GM, but it's almost like I'm looking past that, and I'm already like, all right, well, the GM's there. Like, what's the head coach now? Like, one domino has fallen. The next one is just as important, if not more important. So, but we're here to talk about Brad Holmes, and I think the hire was. I'm gonna grade it. Whatever. I'll give it a B.
I think B is fair. For myself, I wanted to do this as instant reaction. So in the spirit of my original intention, I will just do my quick reaction. I'm just going to check the notes here. That for those listening on the podcast, I know it's not a visual medium. You can see me looking down at my notes. You can see me here kind of pulling through. I just want to see. I'm going to flip back the clock here to the 15 draft. Let me see. Where did the Rams pick? No, excuse me. That would have been 2014. I've got to flip this back again. Here's some paper. This is not very flippable paper here, so it's
you are going a long ways for this bit.
No, I don't even. Well, here's the thing, guys. Okay, 2014. Here we go. So the Rams, they drafted Aaron Donald. Okay, and the Lions did not. Okay, college scouting, Brad Holmes. Yeah.
A+.
Booking is B+. Yeah, right there. No, look, like let's be honest about this, because I think the Lions did, I think, went out after some established guys, and obviously there's going to be pitfalls going after some established guys. I don't know how close they were to guys like Schneider. I don't know how close they were to guys with Colbert. I think maybe that got fans' expectations a little heightened. So when they only see a director of college scouting, maybe they feel like, okay, well, we could have had, an actual guy with general manager experience rather than, once again, a first timer. But I don't think that's fair. Brad Holmes has a ton of experience. He's been around the league for many, many years. And again, just look at how and I think we'll talk more about this in the next segment too. Like, look at the guys that the Rams drafted. Look at where they were, just kind of picking guys out of college. Like, Holmes was at the forefront of a lot of that. Just, getting guys in front of the Rams who, that the Rams built their Super Bowl run through the draft. And it may have come tumbling down, and maybe Jared Goff hasn't developed the way we thought he would in the NFL, but man, he had a ton of talent coming out of Cal. And again, Brad Holmes is like the guy at the center out of a lot of that. So if the theory is you want to draft like the Rams did to build that defense under, most of it still, I think, under, contract, or at least on second or third contracts, but there's a lot of homegrown guys on that Rams defense, then Brad Holmes is someone you want to look at and hope that he was central to a lot of those decisions.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have to start with his draft acumen, because that's really the only thing we as people that aren't inside the Rams organization can really judge a person by.
And it's important. It's important because the Lions are, for better or worse, they're going to have to look to the draft. They are. I don't know if it's a rebuild or a reload, but they've gotten themselves in trouble because, as I said before, Bob Quinn would swing and miss on a draft. He would then have to go out and double down and get someone else through free agency. And now you're in a hole where you've got a guy who you can't use from the draft, but then turn around and also spend the money for those free agent contracts too. So like, but if you hit on a draft pick, guess what? Like, neat, great. They're ready to go. And you got them on team friendly rookie deals. You know, you got the first bat to extend them. It just works better when you get them through the college draft.
So let's talk about Brad Holmes and his drafts over there, because I think one of the most interesting things that Vincent Bonsignor said, and again, if you haven't listened to our podcast with him, please go back and listen to it. We put it at the top of the podcast feed just so you can listen to it again. But one of the most interesting things he said is when the Rams were making all these aggressive moves with their draft pick, when they were going to get Jalen Ramsey, when they were going to get Brandon Cooks, when they went up and got Jared Goff, they weren't doing it to sell out they weren't selling out their future to win now. That's what everyone thought. But everyone within that Rams organization and even the local beat knew that was not them trying to sell out the future. That was them expressing their faith in their scouting department, because they knew they were going to still have to reload, and they were going to reload on second and third and fourth and fifth round picks, and they were going to need to hit on those picks. And they absolutely did. In the past 4 years alone, they've got 12 starters out of second through seventh round picks.
Yeah, and
starters.
they haven't had a first round pick. They had a few years where
since Goff they haven't had a first round pick.
And they drafted him 2016.
That's what I'm saying. That they mortgaged their future, all those first round picks, because they had their faith in a guy like Brad Holmes, who by all accounts has been a major factor in all of these draft decisions. We heard Les Snead tell a story about how he turned to Holmes and said, "Hey, would you trade a couple firsts for Jared Goff?" And he said, "Absolutely yes." And I know a lot of people are going to say, well, that turned out to be a pretty crappy idea. Well, go back and look at that draft. Go look and see what quarterbacks you would have picked.
Me and Jeremy were just looking at the names.
Carson Wentz is really the only other option there, except for Dak Prescott in the fifth, and everyone missed on Dak Prescott, and we're still not even sure if Dak Prescott is that good. So I don't blame them.
Yeah, and by the way, too, going into that draft, Ryan, do you want to guess who the quarterbacks for? It would have been the St. Louis Rams at the time. Do you want to guess who the three quarterbacks on the roster going into that draft were for the St. Louis Rams?
Sean Mannion.
Yes.
Sam Bradford.
No. The
Couldn't
other
tell you.
other two were Case Keenum and Nick Foles.
They had a Super Bowl winning quarterback already. What idiots.
But yeah, I mean, just like to go.
But that's what I mean. Like, they had to draft Goff. They had to draft a quarterback out of necessity in that draft.
Right.
They had all the pieces ready to go. And Goff, good God, Goff had talent coming out of California, coming out of Cal Berkeley. Like, he had real talent. I think it's just more of an issue. If you look at Goff today, he just hasn't developed in the pro ranks.
Right.
And that's not on Brad Holmes. That's on, I mean, unless you were supposed to say like your director of college scouting is also supposed to look 5 years ahead. That's more of a coaching thing. So,
but yeah, I mean, in general, I think you have to look at the Rams draft since he's been the director of college scouting. I mean, even going back to before the McVays come in, because I think a lot of people say like, well, McVay's the one that really turned that franchise around because they were no good before then. But if you look at the drafting, it was never a personnel problem. I mean, we talked about Aaron Donald. He was a guy that was drafted before McVay was there. A lot of the talent that they have today was from those drafts from 2013, because that's when he started and beyond. So I think drafting, he's done a phenomenal job. Everyone within that department respects the hell out of that guy. He started as a PR relations guy. So, I mean, this guy really had to work his way up and really built everything on his own. So in terms of the college scouting side of things and drafting, I feel that this franchise hasn't been in as good of hands in decades. And I know a lot of people said the same thing about Bob Quinn, because even though he was on the pro personnel side of things with the Patriots early, he was also a scout. But this is a guy, I don't know, just like from beginning to end, he wasn't just under. So I think a lot of people like to make the comparison for whatever reason, I guess because they're SOL kind of people, to Bob Quinn, but there's so many more differences. And the key ones to me are, one, he's not under one GM the entire time. They went through 5 since he's been in there. Hasn't been under the same head coach since then. I think he also went through 5 since he's
Jeff
been there.
Fisher was definitely there when he was there.
He was there all the way in the Mike Martz era. So like he's versatile. He can draft for different kind of people. And so this is a guy that I think has a little bit more varied experience than you would think for a guy that's only been with the Rams his entire career.
He survived more than one owner, I just realized.
Well, there you go. I mean, it's just like he's gone through a lot. He's built his reputation up on his own. I don't think the Bob Quinn comparisons are fair at all.
Ryan?
Yeah, I agree with that, Jeremy. I think the only thing that I'll push back on is it's not a Bob Quinn comparison. I think my point of concern or my reservations that I have, again, and I mean, he can put this to bed real quick, but it's just being with one organization his entire career. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but you wonder how much it limits him in terms of scope. And maybe understanding how, and again, like you said, 5 different GMs. So, I mean, he learned how to maybe lead scouting, do different things under different kinds of GMs. So that kind of puts that to bed too. It's just the only concern is the limited scope that he has in terms of being with one organization his entire career. And I guess my other chief concern is that he just doesn't have that general manager experience, right? Like he was never an assistant general manager. He was never a general manager before. And I think that kind of piggybacks off, Chris's idea that, a lot of Lions fans will look at this general manager search and maybe they'll get a little bit too enamored with the idea that, well, Ed Dodds was in there for an interview. Kevin Colbert might have been a thing. John Schneider might have been a thing, and the Lions all swung and missed on those guys. I'm going to choose to look at it a little bit differently, and I'm going to look at it as the Lions left no stone unturned. And I think that they did a thorough job, and they eventually got a guy who is not Bob Quinn. And I hope that we can put that to bed as soon as possible. So those are my only standing reservations, is that he's been with one team his entire career. Granted, he worked his ass off to go from, a coffee grabbing intern who was working in an enterprise rental car, place before he got a job with the St. Louis Rams and worked his way all the way up to director of college scouting. So that and just being a little bit worried about his lack of experience.
Sure.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, like it's a first time GM, so I would temper expectations on. But at the same time, like I think I've said this before on other podcasts, like once an organization has a GM, they don't want to let go of them,
right?
By any which means. Like why the hell would they want to let go of them unless they've been kicked out the door, like say a Thomas Dimitrov, who still is not getting a lot of looks from what I understand.
No, it doesn't look like he'll get hired. And I mean, that's also the point. Like, look around the league. All these dominoes are starting to fall, and there are not a lot of guys with GM experience getting hired. It doesn't usually happen. GMs typically don't get a second shot. So, like,
it's new and shiny, man. And it's like with coaches. Like, they want the new shiny thing. They want the new hot offensive coordinator. So we're going to go with the new hot, director of college or pro scouting to run your team.
And I mean, Rick Smith is maybe the one exception where as a guy who's like, I probably would have been okay with hiring him, a guy with previous GM experience and a guy that I think probably has the kind of temperament that they're looking for. But other than that, like the other candidates out there, like Jeff Ireland, I didn't see a single Lions person that was really excited about Jeff Ireland potentially getting hired. Mm-hmm. He had previous GM experience and it went horribly.
I was going to say, I think I'm the only one who was ever interested in Thomas Dimitrov here. Too,
no, I mean, there were some, and I get it, but how often do you see a GM get fired and then hired the next round? It almost never happens.
That's true. Yeah.
And then with the legacy guys that are currently hired, like I don't think you can't. First of all, you probably should almost give the Lions credit for even trying to kick the tires on Colbert and whoever, all the ones that are they're currently hired. But I don't think it was ever going to happen because, like you said, you just don't let those guys go, even if they're near retirement, even if they're heading for a rebuild themselves. So I thought the Lions did just about as well as they could there.
I have a question for both of you guys.
Sure. Well, let's get through it quick, and then we got to go to break.
Let's save it for after break because I think it's a worthwhile.
Oh, is it?
Discussion?
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good tease then. I inadvertently did not set this up this way. So we're going to take a quick break here. We want to play some patty cake with our Twitch audience. When we come back, Ryan has a question for us, and we're going to dive a little bit deeper into Brad Holmes and what makes him tick, more reservations, more reactions in the hire here this 14th of January. We're recording it for you. It'll be in your hot hands on the 15th. And you'll be able to listen to it as long as you desire, right up until maybe the Lions hire a coach soon. Maybe. I don't know. Also, we did kick the Vinny. How do you say his last name, Jeremy? Because I wasn't on that podcast. Bonsignor. I was close. We did kick the Bonsignor interview up to the top of our podcast playlist. So if you're listening to this and then you have like next oldest podcast next to play, it'll play that one too. Or if not, you can just scroll down the list. It'll be right there for you. But we did kick it to the top of the playlist because we felt we did all those profiles, all those interviews. We wanted to make sure the one for the guy who actually got hired was at the top. And we'll do that again, I think, probably with the coach, unless it's someone who we haven't talked about yet. But real quick, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back on the other side, Ryan has questions for us. And I'm excited to find out what they are. We'll be right back.
All right, I got to go walk this dog that's been whining for the past 5 minutes. It's driving me crazy. Okay. Be right back. Thank you for all the subs. I'll talk to you.
Yeah, hold up. I need a little more silence for we... Okay, now we can talk. Cool. Let me check chat since Jeremy has voided his... can I just say this right now? Because I don't know if he's watching. We have 170 people watching.
Yeah.
I shouldn't do this because it'll probably get clipped and sent to him.
No, you should say it.
Okay. Carlos Monterez is a nonce. And I don't know why you people waste your time with that.
Yeah, I don't know. That Mad Lib article that he wrote.
Literally pre-written and just drop the name in. And
like it had brackets, right? That said, insert general manager name here.
Yeah. It was a pre-write. And he just kind of filled out the relevant information. Listen, people bag on 97.1 all the time, but they're not the ones giving Carlos Monterez time on their bleeping vertical, all right? Like, Drew Sharp at least put in the work when he wanted to be negative. Carlos isn't doing even that.
Right as he returns, we can finish.
Right as he returns, and we just shut down the conversation.
Were you talking about wrestling or something stupid?
No.
No, we were talking about something stupid for sure.
Okay, cool.
We were talking about someone stupid.
Oh, I already know who that is.
Yeah,
by the way,
can see chat.
Lefty Detroit, thank you for the 15 gifted subs. My goodness. Appreciate the support. And then Lefty also resubbed himself for 10 months. Then we got a whole bunch of follows, including J.S. Ray, Dan Wyek, RS3, Indy Pino, M.L. Blanco, Thomas, Dan. Appreciate all the support, guys. All of you on YouTube as well. I haven't been able to look at a bunch of you guys, but appreciate you. I know you guys are active. You guys are bumping over there. We actually have 170 from both Twitch and YouTube each.
So that's what, 340?
Yeah.
You
That's
what I like to hear.
Bumping, love it.
If we all became VTubers, we could probably get more viewers.
If what?
If we became VTubers, we just replaced all of our faces with anime girls.
I don't know what a VTube is.
Oh man, you're gonna learn soon.
No, I am not.
This is gonna be a Bader Meinhof situation with you, man.
Nope. Yeah, I mean, I'm not even gonna throw myself into the Carlos stuff. So,
listen, I respect guys who are negative.
No way.
It's rough. No. To be but to be contrarian like that is a learned skill. My objection always to Simon is that he's just lazy.
Yeah, that
and everything he does exudes laziness. That he just, it's not, it's like, and I'm sorry, that's probably the biggest curse I can give to a writer. Just like everything I see is like, okay, man, this just feels like the same bleep over and over and over again. I know what you're going to say before you even say it. Even some of the most negative people I know at least have nice things to say, have positive things to say every now and then. It's an act, and it's very transparent.
Yeah, it was a very lazy piece. I actually clicked it and read it because I don't care about giving someone clicks or anything stupid like that. But
yeah, it's a single click in
plus,
I was feeling ocean.
I was feeling pretty optimistic about it, so I'm like, you know what? Let me hear the other side, and then I just came away like, oh,
I think there is a negative
fifth on the Rams website.
You're angry that basically the Lions didn't pick the pocket of another team,
right? And then and then the other thing was like he's too low on the totem pole there in the Rams. Why didn't they get someone higher up on the totem pole? Which I specifically asked Vincent Bonsignor about that exact question. I said, hey, why is he getting skipped over? Why is Brian Zanders getting skipped over? Why is their VP of personnel getting skipped over? And he gave a really good answer. The Rams turnaround is because of the draft. Period.
Yeah. I don't believe in, oh, you shouldn't give people clicks because you're just one person in the midst of it. And I certainly don't believe in any attention is good attention. Like, I mean, I know you read it, Jeremy. I saw a little bit clipped from it. It was enough for me to realize it's like every other piece I've read from him. And certainly I think a lot of other people just, they see his name and won't read it. So, I mean, okay. And that's, again, not because he's negative. I think there probably are downsides that probably have been a bit positive on here, but I mean, hope springs eternal in the minds. But at the same time, like, it's not that. I'm sorry, we spent too much time on this. Do we have anything else from Discord?
Not from Discord. I think you mean Twitch.
Not Discord. It's Twitch. Sorry, my brain is. I've only woke 3 hours ago. My brain
is my audio better? Chet was complaining that my audio was too low.
Your audio's fine. Your audio's fine.
Was it okay to them?
It might be on your mixer and Streamlabs.
Is better now. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay. I have a couple
I don't disagree with you about Carlos. To be fair, the Lions give us the same thing over and over again. Yeah, okay, but that's not a reason to damn them for the like. What do you want? You want them to like go back in time and erase their time so you can feel positive about the future? Like, I don't know, man. Like at some point, like you can't hold the sins of the past. Like at some point, the sins of the past are the sins of the past, and we can laugh about how inept the Lions are, and we can kind of damn ourselves on how bad the Lions have been. But at some point, like, you got to try something.
Yeah.
What are the Lions supposed to do? Just lay down and accept that they'll be bad forever? No one thinks like that. I had this conversation with a former NFL player the other week, and it was infuriating because that was pretty much his thing. It's like, the Lions are bad, they'll be forever bad. But no one thinks like that. If I went to you in your line of work, I'm like, hey, you suck at your job. You will forever suck at your job, and you'll never get far, and you'll die alone.
Hell yeah, brother.
I know that's the millennial state of mind right now, but yeah.
Joshua, I will talk about head coaching, what this means for the head coach search, I think, in the second segment here.
Anything else we need to go over? Any other announcements? I know I'm kind of catching up on the day.
I don't think so. Little Steezy Vert, thank you for the follow. And,
Steez!
And the very interesting name. It's not Steez Tabor, it's someone different.
Oh, okay. How much of this do you think was, you guys, let me ask you this. I don't want to put this in the podcast itself. Do you feel more confident or less confident with Chris Spielman after this?
I don't know. I don't think it changes necessarily.
Okay. That's fair.
Yeah, because, I mean, character, I think, played a big part in this hire, and that's something I want to talk about on the podcast. And basically what he said he was going to do, I think he did. And so, yeah, I don't think it necessarily changed. Head coach will be an interesting hire. I think we might be able to talk more about Spielman if we hear that. 1 second.
Yep, while you do that, I'm going to pull up the YouTube chat as well. I keep forgetting to do that, and I probably should, instead of watching a VTuber.
Okay, I'm ready.
All right, you want to just jump right back into it?
Yep.
Cool. Jeremy Asprey's awesome. By the way, Ruby's asleep. No asking for cameos. He is asleep. I am not bothering him. You can see him right there if you ask for the Ruby cameo. He's right there. All right, let's get back into it.
Sorry, I'll stop clicking in a second. Putting up a poll on Twitch. There we go. There you go. Approval poll on Twitch if you're watching. Sorry if you're on YouTube.
What's the poll?
Do you approve?
Oh, for the. Okay. Restart in 10 seconds.
There's already one on POD.
Round 2 on the Pride of Detroit Emergency PO cast here, talking about the hire of general manager Brad Holmes. I know I do these resets, but you're on a podcast, so I'm not sure why it would reset. Maybe we're in some weird future where they get segmented. I don't know. Either way, Ryan, I wanted to bring you up because before the break, you wanted to talk about a question. You wanted to present a question to the class. So by all means, please, the floor is yours. Teach.
Thank you. All right. Calm down for a second here. All right, let's refocus. So Brad Holmes is the hire. What does the hiring of Brad Holmes signal to you about the direction of this franchise? Specifically, are the Lions going to try to land this plane and refuel and build it and let it take back off? Or do you think that the Brad Holmes hiring is a signal that the Lions are going to try to fix this plane while it's in the air? And I only ask that question because of their interest in Ed Dodds, the really interesting conversation we had with Zach Kiefer from The Athletic about Dodds' perception of things, how he would probably want to do a full rebuild. Do you think that Brad Holmes is going to be tasked to come in here and fix this thing while it's in motion, or are the Lions going to be patient with him?
So I would respond to that in several ways. One, I know we've talked a lot about rebuild versus reload. And I wonder if we're using the wrong language sometimes, the NFL. Someone I work with kind of brought this up. He said, like, NFL teams don't really like rebuild like a NBA team would. You don't have to go back and reload and rebuild and develop talent over the course of like 5-6 years, like say the 76ers or a trust the process kind of situation. You don't really have to annihilate yourself that way. I don't know if I fully agree with him. I think there are some times where you have to just get a bunch of young guys in there and just let them mature and develop. But
the Rams,
yeah, like the Rams. No, absolutely. The Rams were kind of that weird thing stuck in hell for a long time. The Seahawks were kind of the same way, with a lot of guys who were under rookie contracts. But you never really stopped competing in those years in between. It's just that you just kind of were always in the middle ground. You never really were like tanking. So, I mean, and you were never really setting yourself up to tank. The tank is kind of a little more recent, I feel like, in the NFL with teams who have been trying to do it, like the Jets or the Jaguars. So as for what Brad Holmes signals, I think it's more on the... He's going to we're going to probably, to go back to the jet analogy, probably set down to refuel, but it's not going to be as long as people think. I think there might be a couple of lean years. I think the big question will be, and I think this is central to what you're trying to ask, Ryan, is what's he going to do with Matthew Stafford?
Right. That has to be the key question here, because that's the only source of rebuild. They can't do what the Dolphins did and trade away all their talented players for first and second round picks, because they don't have those players.
They ain't got nothing.
They can't. They don't have assets to trade to build for the future. So I think they just kind of have to work with what they got. And really, Matthew Stafford is the only question whether this is a rebuild I mean, if they trade Stafford, it's a rebuild. If they don't, I guess it's technically building on the fly because they don't have any other options. They gotta work with what they got right now, which isn't a lot on the defensive side of the ball. You could argue that they have plenty of talent on the offensive side of the ball. So I think it's kind of working with both, right? Like you're definitely hitting the reset button on defense, 100%. Offensively, you don't have to. The question is, will he? And really the only question on my mind is Matthew Stafford's future. Maybe throw Kenny Galladay in there as well.
I was going to say, I think Kenny Galladay is integral to this question too, because if you look at that wide receiving corps, you're talking about Geronimo Allison and Quintez Cephas.
Right.
And I know when it comes to offensive skill position players, like maybe we were just so spoiled for so long with, the Calvin Johnsons and Golden Tates and Marvin Jones of the world, but that cupboard is kind of bare. I mean, there's DeAndre Swift and TJ Hawkinson, and for as good of a year as Hawkinson had, who knows if Swift can, because we got doses of Swift, right? I mean, he had injuries, he had the concussion. We got doses of Swift, and the doses that we got were really, eye-opening. And it was like, why didn't we get more of this? Can any running back really sustain a 16-game season? And I think if you look at the way that the Rams have recently built themselves, they're a team that's like constantly drafting running backs. I mean, they kept Malcolm Brown, they drafted Darrell Henderson, they drafted Cam Akers. After I think the Gurley situation kind of bit them in the ass.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, after Todd Gurley fell apart, like it's just been a scramble to try to replace him.
And you know what they've done? I mean, recently they've caught fire with Cam Akers. I mean, that guy looks like he's $1 million, to be honest. And hopefully the Lions don't have to dip into that well and spend early draft picks. But I guess, yes, I mean, Matthew Stafford is central to this question. And I think if you're Brad Holmes, it behooves you to keep a guy like Matthew Stafford as your ace in the hole. Because, I mean, we've seen the ups and downs that Jared Goff has had. And what has been most impressive, I think, about the Rams' run has been there was this preconceived notion that as soon as Goff was off his rookie contract, we wouldn't hear much from the Rams anymore, that window would shut.
Right.
That window did not shut. That team's playing this weekend, right? It definitely helps when you have probably the best defensive player of all time. I'll say that, and Aaron Donald. It definitely helps. But you have
the best defense overall, I think, in the playoffs. Right.
I think that's important too.
Far and away the best top to bottom defense.
Everyone hailed that team as Sean McVay's offensive genius team. Well, that's not who they are anymore, and it's because they drafted a lot of really good defensive players. And then, it also has to do a little bit with Staley, but we'll talk about him in a second.
Well, I want to talk about Staley because I think that's almost like the second part of my question about a rebuild. Right? Is now the Lions turn to the next domino that needs to fall, and that's the head coaching position. Yep. Do they want to go with a head coach that has viable head coaching experience, a la Marvin Lewis? I know it is, albeit short, but Darrell Bevel, or Todd Bowles, who they are interviewing. Do they want to kind of protect Holmes in that sense? And if they bring in an experienced guy, that kind of signals to me that it's like, as Chris said, maybe we're landing the plane, but it's a quick refuel and we're right back in the air. Or are they going to turn to a guy like a Brandon Staley, a young guy who has, albeit not much experience at all, this is his first year being a defensive coordinator, but I mean, he's got that Rams defense humming. So what do you do there?
It's an interesting conundrum because all we heard from the get-go is that they want proven people who have experience, who know how to handle a dysfunctional franchise like the one we currently have, and they bucked that trend already. They said, no, you know what, Brad Holmes is our guy. And so it does. I mean, I feel like everyone kind of feels right now that they got to go experience now, because otherwise, I mean, it's not going to be fair, and I don't think it's I already said it's not a fair comparison to Bob Quinn, but if they go out and hire Brandon Staley, like, it's going to be hard for people to be like, okay, so you just tried the Patriots method with a first-time GM that didn't even have an assistant GM title, and then you're going to try a defensive coordinator who's, doesn't have a deep resume there, only been with one, team. How is this not Patricia Quinn? And again, I don't think that's a fair comparison, but you're definitely going to get it.
No, here's the thing too, is like, I don't know if I can say like, because Bob Quinn was with the scouting for New England for quite a while, as well as Brad Holmes.
I think six.
Like,
I think 6 years.
Yeah.
Okay, Brad Holmes, about a little longer than that, right? He's been there like what, 12, 10 years? I mean, he's been there pretty long.
So 17.
2003, 17. So, okay. So I could see experience. They mean experience in that regard. If I'm trying to read the tea leaves and trying to explain this to fit their work. Other than that, like, yeah, maybe they go with a head coach. I think the other thing that's going to make this different from the Boston boys is that I don't think Holmes, and maybe this is where we get into the head coach here, is I don't think Holmes is necessarily tied to any head coach right now. He seems to be a person who seems to be ultimately flexible, that could probably work with, anyone as long as they're willing to work with him. And I think that could, maybe, as you say, that's a sign that experience then comes from the head coach hire.
Yeah.
So
the only reason I would compare it to the Boston boys is if they go out and get Brandon Staley. That's what I'm saying. Like,
and they haven't interviewed him at all.
They haven't, but there has been rumors,
and they've been interviewing, but they've also been interviewing already.
Yeah, but I think Burkett put out there that during the second interview, Staley's name came up, and so Staley could enter the situation late. They can't interview him, obviously, until the Rams get knocked out of the playoffs. So if you're a big Staley fan, sorry, suddenly you're a Packers fan on Saturday. That's the way it works. Sorry. I'm also.
It's kind of like if you're a Brian Dable fan, you have to root against this run that the Bills are on.
Right.
Like,
but
everyone's.
I don't know. It's a tricky conundrum because I think you just go out and get the guy. I don't think you worry too much about experience. But I mean, if the Lions are following all the things that they said that they would follow. If we want to go, let me go back to Holmes a little bit, because I think a big reason why he was hired over someone like Ed Dodds is that personality. Is that we had our podcast about Ed Dodds yesterday. One of the things that I came away with is Dodds is kind of a hothead. He'll tell it like it is. He's not necessarily confrontational, but he won't hide when he disagrees with you and raise his voice and things like that. Let me read you what Sean McVay said about Brad Holmes today. He said this today. One of the things I've always really liked about Brad is that one of the things I really liked about Brad that I think is a great skill set for any leader to possess, he's got a great emotional intelligence. And what I mean by that, he's got such a great way about him. Even if I might not agree with you, it never feels confrontational. That's the leadership the Lions were looking for, right? Like, they're trying to, like any team that's hiring a general manager or hiring a coach, they're trying to do the opposite of what came before. What came before was a toxic environment, an authoritarian type of environment where people yelled at each other, swore at each other, they called each other names. Brad Holmes is definitely not that. And so when you go out and look for a new head coach, it's risky to get a guy like as much as I like, Brandon Staley, I don't know who he is as a leader. I don't know if he's kind of the authoritarian type. The Lions might not know either. There might not be that sort of information, but Marvin Lewis is a pretty cool-headed guy. Dan Campbell is maybe an energetic guy, but he's a good leader. Todd Bowles, I don't know. We'll see.
By all accounts, like, the Dolphins guys loved Dan Campbell, from what I remember, when he got the short stint there to kind of lead that team after Joe Philbin was shown the door. The other note I have on Brad Holmes is that this is a 5-year contract.
Mm-hmm.
So, that would be pretty long for a turnaround. I think that also tracks, though, with where the Lions are. I did say it is possible to reload kind of on the fly in the NFL. It's easier to get back on your feet in the NFL as long as you hit it out of the park with a couple of good trades, draft picks. Again, the mean time for a guy in the NFL to mature out of the draft is not measured in the way the NBA is. It's not measured in 5-6 years. It's measured more like, 2 or 3, depending on your position, before you start to really see what you have in a guy, or sometimes just right out of the bleeping gate. So 5 years then tracks. I think it's a little like it's basically saying, all right, well, it tracks because the Lions, as we mentioned, don't have a lot of assets. It tracks in that, okay, we're going to give you some time here we're going to see how you do things here, and we'll just play it by ear from there. Because again, this might keep crashing out and burning. We've been pretty optimistic here, but that's still a possibility. Or it could get back on its feet and they just keep offering the contract after that.
But I mean,
yeah,
it's also an NFL contract. It doesn't really mean anything.
Yeah, they'll just extend.
So you can get fired whenever. A lot of people in the chat are talking about Saleh or the one guy.
Everyone wants to move on to coach.
That they actually have a second interview with Arthur Smith. The hiring of Holmes doesn't really signal any
I don't think
of
it
that sort of
changes
stuff.
anything.
He doesn't.
Yeah,
he doesn't
change anything.
He doesn't have a connection to any of these guys. If you guys are wondering, they're really that's the reason why we brought up Brandon Staley. Is he's really the only connection he's got in terms of coaching, which means it'll be interesting to see this team build out an entire coaching staff. I don't think Saleh's out of it, but it's hard to imagine. Like I said, I do feel like the direction of this coaching search now goes towards someone experienced. And that's why we're talking Todd Bowles. That's why we're talking Marvin Lewis. That's why we're talking Darrell Bevell. These are guys with at least a modicum of experience. Same with Dan Campbell. He was an interim coach for 3/4 of a season. The Lions, they can't. I don't know if they can afford to take a risk. I wouldn't mind if they did, but I just don't know if they're going dead set with the plans that they came in on doing that. And that's one thing Rod Wood said is like, last time we did the search, we had some criteria, we got away from them. Well, if experience is the criteria that you came into this search looking for, and they said that was high up on the list, well, then you can't stray from it now. If you admitted you strayed from your plan last time and you don't want to do it again, don't do it again.
The one understated thing that I want to bring up is I don't want to I don't want to forget that this football team was a team that canceled practice back in August in wake of social justice reform. And they were a team that was loud. They were the first team that did it. I think that hiring a black general manager and the prospect of then having a black head coach,
Marvin Lewis, Todd Bowles, both. Yeah.
I think that while I don't think that it can be understated how important that is in terms of rebuilding a culture, specifically in an organization and a football team of predominantly African Americans. And I think that you look around the league and there's only one other black general manager and black head coach combination in the NFL, and it's the Miami Dolphins with Chris Greer at general manager and Brian Flores as their head coach. And there was, I'll let you get to your point, Chris, but real quick, if you want to do a quick study, and I know it's a different sport, but James Edwards III, the beat writer for the Athletic Detroit Pistons, he put out a great article about the Jeremiah Grant signing and how much it meant to Jeremiah Grant that they had both a black general manager in Troy Weaver and a black head coach in Dwayne Casey. And the quote that kind of stuck with me and made me kind of make this parallel was that, Jeremiah Grant said, I was a black person before I was a basketball player. And I don't think that can be understated for a team that needs to rebuild its culture from the ground up. I think that could go a long ways.
And really quick, Brad Holmes was the social justice kind of initiative leader over with the Rams too.
Yeah. All I was going to add to that though, Ryan, was like on top of that, and like, we're 3 white guys, technically 2 white and a Guido here, if we really want to be reductionist about it. But but we're 3 white guys sitting on a podcast about a team that plays in a majority black city as well. And I think that, again, and the Lions have always kind of pushed themselves on those initiatives, to do better by their community, for better or worse. Sometimes it's swung, sometimes it's missed, sometimes it's hit. So, I mean, yeah, I think that's all genuinely important. I just don't know how qualified I am to really speak on too much of that. But I do think, it was funny because I was talking with someone and they thought, they only brought in Marvin to fulfill like the Rooney Rule in the interviews, and I had to kind of push back against that.
Then why would they be bringing in Todd Bowles?
Yeah,
I mean, technically, doesn't Robert Saleh technically count as well? Like, minority.
Yeah, I think he's a
That's
minority
true.
candidate too.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I
that's
mean,
it's just silly. Eric Bieniemy. I mean,
we could go ask Mansour
There-
what his
I-
thoughts
I
on
think-
that sometime.
I think when you interview half black candidates, maybe it's just a sign that there are better black candidates out there now, and there's no.
Yeah, I think it's the coaching staff is coaching staff and the. And look, man, like I know some people don't remember him too fondly, but I remember, when I went to my first game in 2014, my dad got me tickets to Ford Field on my birthday. We went up and saw them play the Packers. Like I got one of those like little cards out that's like, here's a new force in the North or a new roar in the North, lions and winter and everything. It was Game of Thrones crap. But Jim Caldwell was front and center on that. And I think that's important, like to the topics that Ryan's talking about, that Jim Caldwell is the one at the front as the black head coach, is that he's the one at the front. So we'll see what happens moving forward. I think a lot of people are really interested in what happens with the coaching search now. I think Marvin Lewis, I hate to do, you never want to do horse race coverage in either politics or personnel searches in sports. But I feel like Marvin Lewis, by all the criteria we've laid out here, is probably in my mind the front runner. Has that experience, has that kind of leadership, makes good team culture. I've talked with one of the players who used to play under him. He has nothing but nice things to say about Marvin Lewis. Yeah, I don't know, but we'll see in the coming days, I guess.
Yeah. For now, I don't know. I'm pretty stoked about Brad Holmes. I think we got a guy that values mid-round picks, which also means maybe more trading down, which fingers crossed they actually do that.
Yeah, and
because
if you look,
I mean,
sorry.
the one thing I'll say about the Bob Quinn era is that I was consistently disappointed with their draft day moves, because either they didn't do it or they would only trade with the Patriots. Now, I don't know if Brad Holmes has a lot of connections outside of that, but the Rams certainly did a lot of trading while he was there. So I have to imagine he at least has a couple phone numbers in his Rolodex.
And if you are looking for kind of a contrarian viewpoint, I know Kent Lee Laddie, alum here at Pride of Detroit, is doing at Math Bomb right now. Is you might have to go back another day if you're listening on the podcast. Is doing a thread on kind of the swings and misses that the Rams have met. And like, look, after they've had trouble as much as anyone else when it comes to drafting running backs. I would argue, though, that kind of came right as the culture on running backs was turning, as we were realizing kind of live out there that, hey, the return value on drafting a running back isn't great. So I don't know, Ryan. Any final? What's up?
Really quick on some of the draft stuff, like the whole draft. Like he drafted 6 running backs in 10 years or whatever it is. Like, no, he scouted running backs. He did not draft the running backs. Let's be clear. He was probably, I mean, it's not his decision necessarily what position the team is drafting. It's his job to give them the most accurate, scouting report of each of these guys. So if he picks a running back and a better running back goes after him, that's on him. But just the mere selection of running backs is not something that you can necessarily put on him, because we don't know if that's his philosophy or not.
Ryan, final thoughts to you.
I will not be around for any Todd Gurley slander from here until the end of Brad Holmes' tenure with the Detroit Lions. I will not be here for it. One of the greatest running backs of all time.
Yeah, that's an injury problem.
Yeah. And hey, I mean, come on. Todd Gurley was the running back that kept on giving. He was maybe the sole reason why Lions fans had hope this season.
True. Good point.
Oh man. Okay. I'm going to cough that one up a little bit. Okay. So any other thoughts here before we get out of here? We're kind of a little late here, and I want to kind of put a bow on this.
I want to watch the Red Wings.
You want to watch the Red Wings? Let's go watch the Red Wings. Okay. For myself, I'm Chris Perfett. I know a couple on YouTube are asking who the man is in the top left that they're watching is, probably so they can yell at me. I am on Twitter at Chris Perfett, Perfett. Direct hate mail there. Jeremy Reisman is over there. He is at Detroit on Lion. He is the fearless leader and the man writing most of the stuff on Pride of Detroit. And as always, Ryan Matthews at Ryan _POD, the rock god.
The happy camper.
who is he's the soul. He's the soul of this podcast. He's the balls of the podcast. He was just cupping the balls.
No, I was not.
Goodbye, everyone. We'll see you Starside.
Jeremy, can we get one? Oh yeah, with those glasses on.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Also, yeah, just Twitch and YouTube. If you want to stick around, we'll answer some questions. Just because we end the recording doesn't mean we end the stream. If you're here for a first time,
No, we're still going for a little
got a
bit.
bunch of you guys.
I
here
think I
probably
might.
for your first time.
I'm gonna stream some video games later. I think, and I'll talk some Lions too. So.
Ooh, you better believe you're gonna stream on Twitch, but you better believe I'm gonna write more on Brad Holmes. Oh yeah!
Jesus Christ!
Happy? You happy,
Yeah,
chat?
I am happy. Yeah, I'm happy.
I think we need that as a reward option now, Jeremy.
Yeah.
Channel points,
Probably.
Channel points for an oh yeah.
or like bits. If you want Jeremy to say something, as long as it's not Nick the Greek asking to talk about Matt Patricia's boobs or something like.
Oh God. I think that the channel points, like the actual reward, should be Macho Man Fit of Rage. Jeremy goes into a Macho Man Fit of Rage.
On the topic
I
of
like
your
it.
choice. Unsubscribed after that. Oh yeah! Wow. Ouch. I did that for you.
Go to
I
hell.
did that specifically for you, Devious.
Zach
How dare you?
Adolf, fan subscriber Collins. You know, I think way back when we started, we had set up a Google. We set up first year. We set up or second year. We set up a Google Voice call-in line.
We did.
And we got one person who called in, and it was literally a 10-minute. It was an 8-minute recorded monologue from this person.
I really wish we still had it, and I wish it would have ended with "I'll hang up and listen."
To answer your question though, it's something that I'll consider, but I have to also realize that we are live streaming, and I don't know if I'm really eager to take that chance.
Yeah, again,
Sorry.
like maybe we do the call-in line or kind of play some of that.
I mean, it'd be easier, like to just like pull in people to our Discord and have that conversation, but I don't trust you guys enough yet. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't have a dump button here either.
Why not Staley as defensive coordinator, not head coach? Because he's under contract as a defensive coordinator already.
And that would be a lateral move, so the Rams could block it.
Yep.
And considering how much that defense has turned around in a single year, why would they let him go?
Right.
Yeah, I don't think that wouldn't be a smart career decision for Staley by any means.
At
Like,
this point,
we got to stop. You got to stop thinking like everything's available and realize like these are people with jobs, career aspirations, and there's other teams looking to hold on to those pieces too. Ryan, what were you saying at this point? What?
no, go ahead, Jeremy.
Lefty Detroit redeemed an impromptu list cast for most likely to be hired as head coach. Let's do top 3. Most likely to be hired.
Top 3. All right, I want to hear Ryan.
Well, I think, oh boy, is it what we want or just like most likely to happen?
They said I think most likely to happen.
Okay.
Most likely to be hired.
I'm gonna say number 1 is Daryl Bevel.
Wow.
I know.
Wow.
I know. I would not be excited about that. Number 2 would
That'd be
be
a swing and miss.
yeah. I wouldn't be thrilled with that hire, to be honest. Number 2, Arthur Smith,
Mm-hmm.
just because I mean second interview and all that good stuff.
Yep.
And then number 3, who is my personal top candidate, is Marvin Lewis.
I would probably go one Marvin Lewis.
Can I ask you a question about Marvin Lewis?
Yeah.
Do you think that there, and I guess Jeremy, you can answer this too, but do you think that there's anything to it that Marvin Lewis has only had one interview and it was the first interview and it was all the way back on New Year's Eve?
One interview with the Lions, or you mean one interview
With the Lions, yeah. Like that the Lions haven't reached out for a second interview, or do you think that he's just like such a like Marvin Lewis has been a head coach for so long that all you really need is one interview with that guy?
We know who he is at this point.
Yeah.
Maybe. I think there's part of it might have just been like, well, we're not gonna we're not going to jump to conclusion. Like, we want to get the interviews with the other guys in first. And,
Right.
you know, a lot of those guys they couldn't interview until the season was over.
Might
So-
still do a second interview with Marvin Lewis.
Oh, of
hard to
course.
tell. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think they would.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me. It just doesn't. I know the second interviews are interesting. I don't take the second interviews as a sign that, like, I don't think second interviews in the NFL are being structured as in, like, we had all these great candidates, so we're going to winnow it down. And if we call you back for a second interview, you're good. Everyone who hasn't gotten a second interview, you're out. I don't think it works like that in the NFL. I don't think that works like that in this kind of search.
I think it does this year, though. Because of COVID, right? Like, everything has to be virtual. Like, you want to meet in person first. And they didn't get to do that with Marvin Lewis. So I would imagine if Marvin Lewis is their guy, I feel like they're going to interview him again.
Wasn't it interesting? And I'm sorry, I'm derailing your list cast.
No,
right now,
it's cool.
But wasn't it interesting that Darryl Bevel had to do a Zoom meeting because for consistency's sake?
Yeah. So yeah, if
he was right down the hall.
He was literally in the room next door. Yeah.
And they made him do a virtual interview because they wanted
can
it to
I
be consistent.
can I be hella irresponsible right here? That sounds like a Chris Spielman move.
Maybe.
Chris Spielman's like, I don't want it to temper anyway. If I'm gonna want to drop down to a 3-point stance and just see how they look. So okay, Lewis is my one. As much as I don't think I would think it a great hire, I think Smith is 2 right now. I'm not sold on Smith. I know. I would think though, if I'm going to do the positives on Smith, like I think a lot of people are just looking at Derrick Henry and just saying, yeah, that's who he is. But you got to look at what he's done with. And I guess the problem is when we get it to quarterback, always the question is it the offensive coordinator or is it the quarterback's coach? I don't know the answer there in Tennessee. I don't know the answer in Nashville for that. But I think Arthur Smith, at least, like, you get some credit for turning Tannehill into a competent quarterback after all these years.
Sure.
So Smith is, but I mean, I still, that would be one of the new guys I would not be. Like, I would have taken Saleh or Dable or
Dable
I'm trying to think of who?
Dable ain't happening. They haven't even interviewed him.
Yeah, because no one can, because the Bills are still in the playoffs.
True, but they haven't
and
interviewed
probably
him.
will. The Bills are probably going to the AFC Championship.
True.
Unless, who are they playing this week? They're playing the
number one Ravens super fan right here.
They're playing the Ravens.
Yeah.
Ravens are going to collapse.
Shut your mouth.
Want to bet some wings on it?
Bet 100 wings on it.
Not 100. Next time I come to Detroit, I'll get you Sweetwater if you win.
God, I can't believe you just said that. I haven't had Sweetwater in like a year.
How long do you think it's been for me?
Honestly.
Yeah.
There kind of has been something that's prevented.
Do they do DoorDash?
I don't know. Shake on it.
I don't think somebody DoorDash an hour away.
this is by the way, this is a total Rob Parker move. Rob is always infamous for betting everyone. If you disagree with him slightly on air, he'll immediately say, "I'll bet you wings."
I'll bet you wings.
And he wins most of them. He gets a lot of free wings.
I'll do a wing bet with you right now.
Sure. If whenever I Detroit, just write this down in the book. I'm taking the Bills on Saturday in the AFC divisional playoffs. Everyone mark the tape. Ryan is taking the Ravens straight up, no spread.
Can
no
we get, like,
no
virtual
teasers.
handshake here, like do one of these things.
I don't know which way I have to go. Do I have to go here?
Nope, other one. There you go.
There.
Oh right, I'm mirrored. Yeah, I'm mirrored on.
Close enough.
Yeah,
that wasn't even close at all. But
I'll take my shirt off right now.
No one's asking for that.
But yeah, no. So I think a lot of teams are going to start moving fast. So Dable won't even get a call at this point, which is going to be unfortunate because I think out of all the young coordinators, I'd want Dable. He's been the most places. He's had a lot of experience. He's made some pretty impressive moves in different places. Spent some time with Nick Saban too, so knows some of the college ranks as well. Like, I mean, yeah.
But he's up in the booth. Not a good leader. Not approved.
Not a good. Well, I mean, if you had to coach an entire season, Jeremy, in Buffalo, New York, especially when it got to November to like late October, you want to be up in the booth
All right,
too.
so he's got bad decision making by wanting to live in Buffalo. Good, got that too.
What's your list, Jeremy?
Good question.
Well, I haven't done my 3. I think 3 would be just if it's most likely. I'm sorry, if it's most likely Bevel, but Bevel would not be in my 3 most wanted. I'll just say that.
Alex Reno wants you to blow him a kiss. By the way, Ryan.
Go ahead, Jeremy. I know
no one else in chat better have stolen that. That was just for Reno.
Oh, hey, Ian Rappaport, 57 seconds ago, the deal is done. Urban Meyer is the next Jaguars head coach.
That's either going to work really well or it's going to crash so hard. It's going to be amazing.
What if he takes Justin Fields, brother? Because it's his guy.
I feel very, as a USC alum who was hoping they would fire, I'm now mad at USC again for not firing Clay Helton to get Urban Meyer in that chair. While he was here in LA with Fox Sports, he was clearly sitting here waiting for the USC job, and instead he got to go to the Jags.
How long does Urban last? 4 years over under?
Under.
He's gonna flame out like Chip Kelly.
Likely it goes like in the case it goes south. Urban will very quickly invoke health, which is what he did at Florida, which is what he did at Ohio State.
Yeah, he was never going to be a culture fit in Detroit. So that leads me to my top 3, and I might cheat and say 4 because I don't want to leave some people out. People who I think the Lions may hire, and again, this is just opinion, not based on any objective truths. I think right now I would put in the lead Marvin Lewis as well. In terms of leadership, in terms of experience, I think he makes a lot of sense. Arthur Smith is going to be my number 2 simply because there's a lot of interest there. I don't quite get it. I haven't really done a deep search on Arthur Smith. The only reason I would say he's less likely than some of the other candidates is simply the other interest out there in him. Seems like everyone wants their hand in his cookie jar. That sounded gross. Sorry, I didn't mean to say that. But
Falcons especially, right?
But yeah, I mean,
probably have we done an Arthur? We've done an Arthur Smith podcast, right? No, okay. Let's talk after the interview, Jeremy. I might have you someone.
Okay. We probably have to do it quick at this point, but yeah. The fact that he's scoring second interviews with a lot of teams shows to me that there's something there. The team sees something there outside of Derrick Henry, outside of even Ryan Tannehill. There's something happening there, and what exactly is not exactly. I ruined it. There's something happening.
You blew it.
What it is ain't exactly clear. Anyways, he's my number 2. Number 3. Dan Campbell. Number 4, Robert Saleh. I'm still keeping some Robert Saleh hope alive.
Dan Campbell again. I mentioned Bevel wouldn't be my 3 for like most wanted. Campbell might be in there. I'm not gonna lie.
I don't know. I don't know. I think
the vibes
the Lions
between Campbell and
know that the optics are really, really bad for a Bevel hire.
But the vibes are there between Campbell and Spielberg.
Sure, yeah, and that's why he's on my list. And the one thing I want to say about Saleh too is like there was that Albert Breer report that said like even when Saleh was interviewing with the Jets, he was keeping tabs with the Lions, and so I know like I don't know for a fact, but like I'm pretty damn sure if the Lions want Saleh, he's theirs, right? Like that has to be his dream job. It has to be number 1 on his priority list. The Lions just have to be the ones to decide, like, you're in. And I think they're in the middle of deciding all that. And we'll see.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's the most interesting thing, maybe one of the most interesting. I feel like I say that all the time. One of the most interesting things about this hire is that it doesn't really move the needle that much on some of these hires except for maybe the whole experience.
Yeah, it doesn't change anything because the guy's not tied to anyone. He's not being hired to bring anyone to Detroit. He's just, there. I am seeing our YouTube chat asking about Todd Bowles again. I think people know the optics on Todd Bowles right now. I think if you're going to go for either Bowles or Marvin Lewis, you take Lewis every day of the week.
I think so too, just because of Lewis's ability to put together a staff. I think that's going to be really critical.
Yep.
So, Can I ask a question for clarification?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Go on.
it was something that Michael Rothstein tweeted, and it's about the Brad Holmes hire. But he said, interesting in the release announcing Brad Holmes' hire, the Lions say he'll be reporting to owner Sheila Ford Hamp and team president Rod Wood, in case you're wondering about chain of command. But in the release, it says Holmes will oversee the Lions football operations. So am I to believe that Rod Wood is completely out of football because Holmes is going to be overseeing football operations?
That would be great news if he was.
Because that would be the best part of this hire, to be honest.
Yes. No, that would be that would make it a slam dunk, right?
I don't think anything's necessarily changed. Because, I mean...
Was Bob Quinn executive vice president and general manager?
I think he might have been. I don't know. That's a really good question, actually. Let me see if I can get clarification on that.
Yeah, while you do that, I do want to bring this up because I just realized I left out one name here, and I mentioned Brian Dable might fall off everyone's table because the Bills are going to stay in the playoffs. No one's talking about Eric Bieniemy anymore. We're not talking about Eric Bieniemy anymore, which is probably good because, as I made in some Twitter threads, Eric Bieniemy, because of his skeletons in the past, scares me. But I mean, he kind of checks a lot of boxes we're talking about here. Other than that,
really quick, Bob Quinn's title was executive vice president and general manager.
Okay.
I don't know if that's what you asked or not. Was that the title?
I was asking what Bob Quinn's title was.
But I think I saw a report out there today. It said like Bieniemy's probably not going to get hired. Period. I don't know.
Again, I think problem with dominoes once they start falling goes pretty quick. And from the looks of things, the Chiefs are going to stay in the playoffs, and I don't know if Bieniemy will show up on radars.
Well, I mean, this is the second or third year that this has happened with him, right? And you have to wonder if people are like, oh, this is a big name, I better interview him. And then suddenly after the interview disappears. Well, let's put 2 and 2 together here.
I've heard some scary stuff about Bieniemy too. Like just how he is personality wise, how he is past. And look, some of that's on public record out there, and you can go and see,
Yeah. I don't know. And
I don't know if you want to move. He has skeletons in his past to another one that might potentially dig something up, and you'd be like, oh, that's bad.
Wouldn't be a good look.
But I mean, there are legit reasons, even outside of culture fit things, that Bieniemy. I mean, he doesn't call plays for the Chiefs. He did in the Week 17 finale as kind of a Andy Reid gave him a favor, like, listen, this game doesn't mean anything to us. Let's go out there and prove you can do this, so that people stop asking about it or stop criticizing you for it. And he went out and I think they put up their normal 40, 45 points, whatever it was, in their finale and whatever. But I don't know. I don't know. I mean, race could play a part in it, but I do feel like there are a lot of good candidates that are minorities out there that are getting legitimate opportunities.
We just talked about Marvin Lewis and Todd Bowles before we talked about Eric Bieniemy.
Sure, but I mean, who knows if they get hired either?
Yeah, no, I know. I'm just saying, like, again, from someone who I trust on this subject, he said, like, in this particular that probably happens, but in this particular case, when it comes to Bieniemy, race isn't the mark against him. There's other marks against him.
Right. It's interesting though.
All right.
It's interesting that he.
I want to go watch the Red Wings
from front runner to just like disappeared from everyone's search.
Completely off the radar. Yeah,
that's wild.
Yep. All right, we're gonna let Ryan go and watch the Red Wings. Thank you, Ryan.
Everyone say goodbye to Ryan in the chat. Blow kisses.
These are only for Alex Reno.
Yep. If you don't take guys, I see you reaching out for that. No. All of those are just for Alex.
No. And Jerry Mallory.
Jerry's not here. Oh, there he goes. We'll probably stick around maybe 10, 15 more minutes. Stick around.
Yeah, I'm good for a few more minutes. Yeah. We've still got quite a few people watching us.
Yeah.
60 on YouTube.
Let's keep it rolling.
120 on Twitch. Like we still got quite a few people watching us.
And I saw someone ask, when's the introductory press conference? Been told by the Lions they don't have that set up yet, but they're working on it. So
yeah,
we were waiting to maybe have it tonight. It's starting to look more and more likely that's not going to happen tonight. So I would expect probably tomorrow morning. But again, that's me speculating, no info. I've just been told it's not been scheduled yet. Who are my preferences for head coach? I still like Saleh the most. If we're going preferences, it's Saleh, it's Brandon Staley. And then this is just people who are hypothetically in the running. I'm not going to go off the board there. And then three is probably Marvin Lewis at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I'm having trouble finding someone who I really like other than Marvin Lewis right now. Like all the rest is like Marvin Lewis. I like the veteranship. That's not even a word, but I like his resume. I think people are discounting what he did at Cincinnati a little too easily. I've heard from people that it's not Lane Kiffin. It's not Lane Kiffin.
That's why I was laughing.
But I was just saying, like Marvin Lewis plus building the staff and everything, that puts him a leg up. A slight leg up, but then everyone else, there's a whole pool of guys I'm mostly cool with. I'd be cool with Dable. I'd be cool with Saleh. You could probably talk me into Arthur Smith. I don't know if I've seen enough for me to convince myself on him on that, but I'm just, I'm not a football guy. I'm here picking boogers and flicking them. The closest I got to football was helping to tape games in high school. I was more of a basketball kid growing up. Like, none of us played football. Like we're just idiots on the sidelines here, picking our noses and doing film tape.
But I do think your point about the coordinator hires is key, because the Lions are going to be looking for someone that's a good leader, but they're going to need someone with X's and O's in the buildings, and that guy probably isn't Brad Holmes. If it's an Arthur Smith or something, that's the offensive side of the ball. But who are you going to bring on?
Yeah, I don't know who Saleh or Dable would hire. Yeah,
well, Saleh we kind of do. Saleh we know on offense he would either bring in the LaFleur or the McCarthy. The McCarthy not related to Mike McCarthy, so you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, I do want to address this from Divius. He says the Lewis staff is old, though. Can't talk about new offenses and defenses. Man, I don't know. I think that 2015 offense could work very well in 2020, right? I mean, I know their head coaching careers didn't work out, but even if like Jay Gruden and Hugh Jackson were pretty good as offensive coordinators. And like Lewis was never married to a single guy. He kept turning over his staff quite often.
Yeah.
So by all means, he can work with anyone as an offensive coordinator or anyone as a defensive coordinator. I think Lewis is, for as old as kind of stately as he is, he's shown the flexibility that he can adapt with the times.
Yeah, go back and listen to our conversation with Joe Goodberry. We talked exactly about this, and he kind of eased my concern about. I had that same concern, like old school coach is going to have an old school mind. No, they played three wide. They stretched it out. They had a bunch of interesting offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators that always seem to be on the cutting edge, and he has these connections that like you wouldn't like. It's not that he had a history with these people, just being around, being a head coach for 16, 17 years or whatever it was. Mm-hmm. You get to know people, and so he knows.
Yeah,
people
Mike Zimmer came from Cincy too. Yes,
Mike Zimmer, one of the best defensive coaches in football still today, came from Cincy. He hired him. He knows. So I would have full confidence and maybe that's the most important thing. All right, like we know Marvin Lewis is a good leader. We know he's well liked by all of his players. And we're pretty sure he can put together a good staff. Like, maybe that's all you need. Maybe you don't need this guy who's a defensive genius. Maybe you don't need this guy who's an offensive genius. You need a leader that has good connections.
Yeah, leader of men.
Now,
leader of men.
The complaint, and I see a lot of people put it out there, is like, well, if you hire good coordinators, those guys are eventually going to become good head coaches. You're going to lose them. Well, so what? That means we probably had success under him. And so let's take if we're in first of all, let's not play 4D chess here. And just say let's just get the right guy. And if it means we have to lose an offensive coordinator,
to be at a
if we lose,
I want the Lions to be in a place where people are trying to pick our coordinators.
Great, that means we did good things. And now we get draft picks for it. That's a good point too. We just gave 2 third-round picks for Brad Holmes. Maybe we get some draft picks out of losing some coaches in the future.
Yeah,
I don't want to think that far down the line.
I want to address this from Joshua Mercer, who talks about the culture Marvin Lewis had in Cincinnati. And I've said it before, I see TJ Hushmanzada every now and then. He comes through the studio because he has a weekend show. He talks very highly about Marvin Lewis. I know a lot of other people just kind of saw the problem children that were in Cincinnati. And again, I think some of that you just pass on to the fact the AFC North was rivalries were just bloody in the AFC North in the 2010s. Like you had 3 coaching staffs who stuck around for a long time: Lewis, Harbaugh, and why am I blanking on his last name with the Steelers? I just saw his face. Tomlin. Yeah. Harbaugh, Tomlin, and Lewis. All their coaching staffs, their players, those were kind of the last bastions of the NFL where people aren't just turning over as free agents quite often. Like they had guys who stuck with them the entire time. That was a brutal, bloody, everything you guys like to say about the NFC North,
the black
about
and blue
being
division.
hot. Yeah, the black and blue division. That's true of the AFC North.
Yeah.
That's absolutely true of the AFC North. And
like,
I think even Joe even brought it up too. Like
yeah,
in that playoff game, like guess what? The Steelers were getting away with stuff. The refs were swallowing their whistle and the Bengals felt like they could retaliate.
Yeah.
Like that. And like, yeah. And I mean, even TJ tells me the story about how he went and bailed a unnamed Cincinnati Bengal out of jail at 7 a.m. And then later that day, they went and played a football game. Like, because that kind of stuff happens. But
also, like, when was this Lions team the best?
Yeah.
In recent years, when they had Ndamukong Suh, right? Like when they
Yeah,
had dirty ass players that were rough and tumble, and like you need a little bit of that.
Yeah, that's the old, like, I remember I talked with Joe Dumar. He came to my class at USC, and I asked him about why, what brought Rasheed Wallace to Detroit, and maybe this was the bad boys and him talking, but it's like you need that wild card sometimes. People don't want to think about that. But you need those wild cards in games. And like, yeah, there was stuff going outside of games, but I think that was also like, I mean, that was happening around the NFL. That happens around the NFL a lot. I'm sorry.
Well,
like,
and the other thing,
Pro Football Talk used to run like arrest wires all the time in the off season. Like that was just the state of the NFL in the 2000s and early 2010s. Guys were just getting busted for shit.
And the other point that Joe Goodberry brought up about the the off the field issues with the Bengals is like, well, that front office was cheap as hell. They could only afford
Lewis was like
they could only afford people
himself.
with red flags like that.
Yeah,
they had to make a conscious decision. Are we going to keep getting bottom of the barrel guys? Or are we going to go for some guys with some red flags, roll the dice, get the talent on the field, and hope we can control it off the field? And a lot of times they couldn't control it off the field, and maybe that's on them. Maybe that's just the player being the player. But they didn't. And to be fair, like, I'm not sure the Lions are going to have their selection of the cream of the crop. They probably won't right away. So there's a concern there, but I don't know.
YouTube is asking who else is talking to Marvin Lewis. I've seen him interviewing with a couple other teams.
I believe he interviewed with the Texans. Let me pull up my tracker, and if you
I don't know if he interviewed with the Jets. I do see there's some Jets writers who were talking about Lewis as a potential hire for the Jets, but I don't know if he interviewed with them.
This is a great tool, by the way, our head coaching carousel, which I've tried to update as much as possible, where it says where all these people that I've interviewed. I did someone else do that for me?
Must have.
Or did I do that in? I think I might have just done that, thinking it was going to happen. Anyways, so let's just look. Marvin Lewis. So Lions, Texans interviewed him, Jets interviewed him. So
yeah,
still
3 teams,
three out of the 7, and there's
yep. Real quick, as someone was asking, who all has interviewed Bevel?
Nobody.
I think it's just us.
Nobody else.
Yeah, just the Lions. Yeah.
I would say Bevel's probably in line for an offensive coordinator job if he doesn't get the Lions job. And again, I do think there's a small possibility he would stick around with an offensive coordinator job here, but I think a lot of that depends on who they hire as the head coach.
Yeah. For the record, I don't think Urban Meyer was ever a real possibility to the Lions, so I'm not even going to talk about that.
Who? Sorry, you missed that.
I said I don't think Urban Meyer was ever a possibility to the Lions.
Not a culture fit. Not a culture fit.
Nope. I want to talk about red flags there. I mean,
right.
Again, it's going to work out it's either going to work out spectacularly for Jacksonville, in which case I'm very happy for them. They deserve some love. Or it's going to flame out so damn hard, man. There's just there's only 2 realms of possibility.
Yep. Which head coaching candidate would keep Bevel? mean, Salah's the one that has ties to him, right, in Seattle.
Yes.
So that's a possibility. But again, I think he's probably bringing in someone from the 49ers organization instead. So I don't know. I think Marvin Lewis might give him a shot because he's kind of on, par in terms of, overall vision and I think temperament, I guess. But I don't know. It's a tough question to answer. I don't really know.
Chances Urban drafts Fields over Lawrence, 0. Like, even Urban's not that kind of a... I think he realizes that what Ohio State does only works in the college ranks. Not to do the divide, like the West Coast offense thing is dead. The divide between NFL and college is becoming less and less. But what Ohio State does, you're not doing that against NFL defenses. So I would, if I was him, I want Lawrence. But yeah.
The new puppy in the background is my cousin's puppy, Huma, and she is the one that is currently crying again because she needs to go out because she actually pees every hour, which is very fun.
Jesus, man.
Probably going to close.
You need to take her out to pee. So, I mean, I can always just yak here, but
if you want to,
we can always close it up. We can always close it up too. It's up to you.
Can you
oh my God,
you big whiner! Come here. Let the people see you. Come here. This is Huma, everybody. And this is Azus smelling her crotch. All right, stop.
Horny.
All right, I'll run real quick, Walker, for a 2 seconds. Chris, don't blow everything up.
Nope. I am your.
And then we'll go maybe 5 more minutes.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit of Campbell. I'm going to talk a little bit of Campbell.
Ooh, I like that. Good topic. Go, Chad. Talk about.
Yeah, because I want to give YouTube some love. You guys.
I should probably mute my mic.
We kind of show a lot of love to Twitch, but I know I see quite a few people in our YouTube chat talking about Campbell. It's just such a hard. It's a rough decision for me because on one hand, like, this is a guy who just hasn't gotten like a lot of higher end stuff. Like, I mean, he was an interim head coach, sure, and he's the assistant head coach with the Saints right now. He's never had a coordinator position. He's just been a tight ends coach. Literally, he was a coaching intern with the Dolphins. Then he was their tight ends coach. Then he took over for Joe Philbin. Then he went to the Saints, and where once again he was the tight ends coach. And then he's picked up some assistant head coach responsibilities from Sean Payton. So that's a pretty quick. That's only about a 10-year coaching experience there. And for a lot of coaches too, that you might say 10 years sounds like a lot, but you got to remember, for a lot of coaches, like, they go through things like quality control positions, offensive line assistant or whatever, intern, booth analyst. I mean, offensive scheme analyst or whatever. Like, there's a lot of guys who go through a lot of that stuff. Campbell, though, kind of got fast tracked to position coach, probably because he had the experience of being a player. He was a player. I mean, guys, we remember him from the Lions, right? He was a player for 10 years, and now he's been a coach for 10 years. So I was just saying, Jeremy, like, the thing with Campbell that I think what makes me kind of wonder how much of a coach he is like, he has 10 years experience, sure, but a lot of other coaches go through that stuff where you're a graduate assistant, or you're a quality control coach, or you're an assistant or something. Campbell has just done tight ends and picked up every now and then to do some assistant head coaching stuff.
Yeah. Well,
plus
and
the interim stint. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, well, yeah. Again, it kind of goes back to what are the Lions looking for? Are they looking for an X's and O's kind of guy that's gone through the ringer in terms of being a coordinator, in terms of being more of a positional coach? If Campbell's even on their radar, it kind of tells me the answer is no. I think they're looking for that straight leader guy, and he's a guy that can lead,
which is fantastic.
Guys.
Yeah, I mean, I always said the strength about Jimmy Johnson was always that it didn't matter where you put him. Like, he could get his guys to fight for him. Yeah. Like, famously, I remember seeing tape from him when he's at Miami, and these big old, we're talking about, the heady days of the all the nasty South Florida kids who were just, scaring the hell out of everyone in college football, and they're going over and just hugging the hell out of Jimmy Johnson because they love him so much. Or, where he's with those, you want to talk about a problematic culture with the Dallas Cowboys of the 90s. He was there and got those guys to win Super Bowls too. So, I mean, but that's it. Jimmy Johnson, Pete Carroll, both guys who are, when I say leaders of men, I don't mean it in Lombardi kind of sense where you walk into a room, you growl, and you act like they're soldiers. You say something, you make them run through a brick wall. It's like you just know how to manage people's personalities and get them to come together for a common goal. Which, again, when you're dealing with 53 men, alpha men on a roster who have spent their entire lives being told at the top of their just damn species sometimes, and some of them making millions of dollars while scraping by, and they're all from different, social backgrounds, economic backgrounds, racial backgrounds, to get all of them to work together, that's a tall fucking task.
It is. 100%.
That's a huge task.
And again,
more than any other sport.
It's the Lions overcompensating here, right? Like that was where they failed so spectacularly with Matt Patricia. So that's why this is one of the, prime, I guess aspects they're looking for. I just say that just because I feel so many fans now treat players like interlocking parts, right? It's like you put this guy here, bam, he'll work like a chess piece. Right. It's more than that.
Sorry, continue. I'm sorry.
No, I don't really have much of other point. A couple of people I saw ask about Doug Peterson, and I do think maybe he gets some play. There's again, it's kind of one of those things where how often do you see a head coach get fired and then immediately hired? It doesn't happen a ton. It happens.
Yeah, there's usually a year or two off, which is the Marvin Lewis trend, right?
Yeah.
Marvin Lewis got fired.
Yeah.
It's been a few years, but he's just been kind of chilling in Arizona State. How many years did it take Andy Reid to get rehired? Because he got fired in 20?
I don't think he had a year off. I could be wrong, but I don't think Andy Reid had a year off.
No, I thought he took some time between Philadelphia and
no.
There was a year. He had a year.
Did he?
Because
not that I see.
Well, he got fired in the middle of 2012, didn't he?
At the end of 2012.
At the end of 2012.
Yeah, and then was right there with the Chiefs in 2013. Immediately took him to 11-5.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. There's your guy.
I think with Peterson though, a lot of people have talked about Frank Reich and his role in the Eagles championship run, right? Because he's now gone to Indy and things have worked out pretty well in Indy. And there are a lot of moving parts, and you can't give it all. I mean, if we're going to talk about how great of a person Ed Dodds is, obviously the share of the congratulations go between Reich and him and everything. But I don't know. I don't mind. I think I said in last week's podcast I wouldn't mind them bringing in Peterson for an interview, and I do think he'll get an interview. If not, there's going to be a lot of offensive coordinator jobs around as well. So we'll see.
Was Chip Kelly hired immediately? Yeah, back in the college ranks. I think he got dipped out of Philly pretty quick, and then UCL. But let's bear in mind he got picked up by. Actually, wait, no, he got picked up by the 49ers for. That's right.
Oh, Jerry was watching. Jerry, are you still watching?
Yeah, he's in our YouTube chat.
Oh. See, I'm still not great. Oh, there he is. Campbell's the assistant head coach in New Orleans. Okay, I see.
Yeah, I mentioned that. Yeah,
I see it now. But he mentioned in the Slack because he was giving us he was feeding us information about Bob Quinn. But I have my Slack.
Look at that.
It's turned off. Sorry.
Oh, that reminds me. The backup recorders are still going. Shit.
Whoops. Getting ready to close up here because I also want to watch the Red Wings and I also want to write more because I got to write a lot.
Yeah, I got to.
There's a whole Darrell Bevel interview that happened apparently on Sirius XM that I missed. So I'm gonna have to go listen.
Yeah, and there's I want to eventually. I don't know if I'll get to it tonight. I know I wanted to do it a weekend though. For a lot of them, I do know we're starting to go through our roster review, and I am starting to write notes about Adrian Peterson right now. So
yeah, and I saw he was in the news for bad reasons.
Yeah, he owes people money.
Yeah, that's not great. Any other questions?
Got some nice running legs there, AD.
Zach,
Be a shame.
What do you want the link to? Sorry, the Daryl Bevel interview. You won't have audio to it, but a few of the beat writers have written up on it already. I'll just throw you the first one that I see, which is Detroit News. But yeah, so he had an interview where I guess he talked a little bit. You keep asking. I don't know when the media is meeting with Brad Holmes. I don't know yet. I don't know. I still don't know. You can ask me in 5 minutes. I still won't know.
Jeremy.
I don't know.
Okay.
I literally got sent an email from the line say we don't know, but we're working on it.
I was going to ask you if you could give me some ice cream, but
no, I don't. I don't think I can physically do that.
sure you can. It's the year 2020. It's the 21st century. Anything's possible.
Can they get an interview with Dable over Zoom, even with Bills in playoffs? No, they cannot.
No. They're like, the NFL rule is you can't talk to this person. Not, hey, it's not, hey, you just can't fly him out here. It's like, no, you just can't. You're not allowed to actually talk to them. That's interference.
Mustache contest going? That's a good question. Last podcast we didn't even run it because I was doing the
I feel like the mustache is a
monumental.
permanent part of you now.
I don't think so. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, clearly it's February. It's going to be February in 2 weeks.
What are we up to? We're up to 160. That seems ridiculous. I'm kind of about ready to get rid of it if I'm being completely honest.
To be honest, like at this point, it might just be a part of you, like my goatee is. So.
No. Chat, I know you want. It's easy for you guys. It's easy for everyone to say you should keep it. It's not easy to walk around with this on your face, and it's a little bit easier now because we're in the pandemic and I have a mask and no one sees it. But we'll see. I think my plan right now is next podcast, which is either Sunday or Monday. We'll probably do Monday. We'll do 100 gifted subs. If we make it, we'll do 100 gifted subs again. And until we don't get 100 gifted subs in a Sunday podcast, I won't shave it. But I know that's asking a lot from you, and that's because I want it to stop.
You're just throwing money at him for this, guys. Like,
I'll grow one if you keep it. Joshua, what do I get out of you growing one, though? I will not grow a soul patch. You can pay me enough money for that. Hope, right. What do you got? I hate these words coming out of my mouth. Well, I hate the lip over my mouth. Or the... Sure, let's go with that.
All right. I think we should get out of here if we've devolved into this much talk.
Hope said they have a question. So once Hope gets out the question, I will leave. Who will be the head coach? Remove the lip, keeps the I don't think that's possible. Who will be the head coach? I put
John Cena.
Oh, wow. We throw back to the old podcasts.
That meme's dead. It should come back, though.
I did name the top 3 I think could be in play. And again, this is more just inference than actual news or sources. Number 1, who did I say was number 1? Marvin Lewis. Number 2, Arthur Smith. Number 3, Dan Campbell. And then number 4, Robert Saleh. Top 4. Join Twitch late, so only know Jeremy with a mustache will be weird without... If you go to, after we close out the Twitch broadcast, just go to twitch.tv/Pride of Detroit. There's an intro video. I don't have it. It'll probably look weird for you. It's a nice icebreaker on dates after COVID.
Did Lions Wires really send out a tweet saying Detroit Lions confirm a second completed interview?
Yeah. They've been doing that for a while. They send out a follow-up tweet like 24 hours after their original story runs. So I had a little fun with them and just said, I think they're going to hire him.
Yes.
All right. Anyways, guys.
All right. Yeah.
Let's raid somebody real quick for you Twitch people. Let's see. What do you guys want? I have a music act I can send you guys. If you guys want to go see Andy Milonakis, we can send you just randomly to Andy Milonakis. We have a Fortnite player that I'm kind of friends with. A Madden player that I'm friends with that I think we've raided once. Dev. Who else?
There's not a lot of people on today.
I got a lot of friends. Fucking go, Andy. I don't need. What's Andy doing? Madden, baseball. Baseball. I don't know any baseball followers. Let me see what and make sure Andy Milonakis is not doing something weird. Which I mean, he's guaranteed to be doing something weird, but Not inappropriate weird. He's just chatting. What's he talking about? Garbage Pail Kids opening? He's opening up packages of Garbage Pail Kids. Is that what you want to see?
He's doing unboxings.
We're doing it. Screw it. All right, guys. Go enjoy Andy Milonakis. Are we working? Why aren't we working? There we go. Okay, it is working. All right, guys. We will be back either Sunday night or Monday night. We'll give more big thoughts. Maybe we'll have some head coach news to talk about, but we'll talk about more big picture stuff. Thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you if you're on Twitch. Thank you if you're on YouTube. You guys were amazing. We had a ton of viewers today. Stayed well over 100 the entire time. We appreciate you all. We love you all. Good night. All right. Twitch is gone. YouTube, you're still here. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you tell your friends or something. I don't know. Just ring
Love
that
you, YouTube.
bell. What do you say on YouTube? Ring the bell.
Ring the bell. I think you're getting that from Lucha Under. actually.
Maybe. But if you are on YouTube and you haven't seen the Brad Holmes interview that we did 2 weeks ago, go back in our YouTube archives. It's there. It's a great interview. Vincent Bonsignor, Rams insider for almost 2 decades. He knows a lot about him. Has also a great article on The Athletic on him. Go see that. Until then,